My people were biologically determined for one purpose alone, to sense the coming of damn fine podcasts. I sense it coming now.
All right. Hello. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Discovery Home Companion, your place for all your Discovery companionship. Don't be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of.
You will never be able to podcast as good as us. Your tongue is too human.
We're not here to hurt you. This is a safe place. My name is Wade Bowen. With me is James Nolan.
Hey, guys.
And Hugh Crawford.
Hello.
And we are talking about that episode we just watched called blah, 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 Latin.
Yeah, it's called Si Vis Pacem Bellum. That's not perfect, but yeah, that's what it's called.
If you want peace, prepare for war. Correct? You're right.
Yeah, that is correct. And I don't know who originally said that, but I don't know why it's still a too smart by half for this particular episode. The title.
I mean, I saw what I thought this episode title fit pretty well for this episode.
Well, you're not preparing for war if you're already in the middle of war.
Well, that
sounds like something you would say before going to war.
Yeah, but that's what the aliens on this planet haven't done. They want peace, but they're not prepared for war. And I think in the next episode, it's going to fuck shit up because they didn't prepare for war, but they wanted peace. So they just invite spoilers. I mean, in that sense, I think that the title does fit because it's all about peace and pacifism.
In the sense that you shoehorned that in there. Okay. All right. Now,
that's what happens in the episode. So,
well, they called the Klingons, but they didn't do any. The fact that they didn't do any preparation for war.
That's what I'm saying. That's they want. That's we're saying. It's not saying these people prepared for war. It's saying if you want peace, you should prepare for war, not do what these dumb aliens did at the end.
That still seems like a stretch to me, but I'm glad that you're on board.
Because it's all about peace and pacifism and stuff.
Do you want me to read the IMDb description?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay. The USS Discovery is tasked with a high-priority mission to planet Pavo and learn the science behind the Klingons' cloaking technology. Plus, they call it invisibility shield, and that irritates me. It's a cloaking device.
Right, but they don't have a name for it yet. So right. I like that they don't. I like that they don't just call it a cloak. I mean, they're gonna probably next episode or somewhere in the season, they're gonna say, "What if we call it a cloak?" They're gonna do something heavy-handed wordplay. Yeah, they're gonna find a way to make Michael Burnham famous for the person that comes up with the term cloak or something. I don't know
where to begin. This one wasn't. Well, okay. Well, we've got an A plot, which is what we saw, and then we've got the B plot, which is like really 3 minutes of Stamets and his situation.
Was that the B plot?
That was the C plot.
Yeah, that's the C plot.
That was the C plot. Oh, okay, yes. The B plot is the Klingon stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I did like the opening. I mean, the Gagarin is called... That was a pretty good space fight where the Gagarin gets blown up.
Yeah, I do like the space fights, and I like the pew-pew noises that they all make.
Like
the ships make. I do enjoy the sound effects that are unique to just this series,
right.
I guess is what I'm trying to say. So that's a positive.
Because we've had every episode they talk about how the Discovery is the secret weapon that's winning the war, but we haven't seen them actually do anything in the war. So it was nice to have them have a pretty intense space.
Oh wait, they're too important to be out there in the war.
Well, they were, and then they needed to back off, and then they got.
Look, they're just managing their minutes, and they got them. They got them on a pitch count.
Oh, okay.
And they're afraid. Yeah, they're afraid if they pitch them too late into the regular season, they won't be ready for postseason. So,
I mean, if they could have made an episode previously all about the tactics of the war and why why the ship is so valuable and why they needed to not risk it by getting, because if they're the one winning the war, you got to make sure not to overextend yourself and get killed, and then you lose the war because the Discovery's not there. That's in the past. In this episode, it was nice to see the big space fight. The Gagarin gets blown up, and and that big thing from the teaser from last week where they're like, "Oh, somebody's going to die." Turns out that was just them mourning the Gigera and there's no time for more and we got to go in and.
I mean, guess Cornball died.
Yeah.
That's not.
Well,
that's not clear.
It's not clear.
I think it is clear.
I think it's
not clear, but yeah. I think it's this episode had me it was on the way to being a good episode for so much of it, and I felt like I left disappointed at the end. I was like, really, this had so much potential to me. I thought
that's the arc for a lot of these episodes.
I can encapsulate my entire feelings about this episode with my emotional response to the Laurel cornball scene, and I'm like, oh my god! I wish he's like, I would have defect, and I'm like, oh my god, she's Ramsay Boltoning her.
Yeah, exactly.
She's gonna Ramsay Bolton her.
She is,
and then it turns out I was more disappointed that it wasn't even that smart. I was like rolling my eyes that they were going to use a very noticeable plot point from Game of Thrones, and then it wasn't even that.
Yeah, see, I didn't even put the Ramsay Bolton together. I was like, well, she's from the House of Lies and Deceit. Clearly, she's running another game here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought she was going to Ramsay Bolton her too.
Hey, I don't care if it would have been cool. It would have been better than what this was. The lady from the House of Lies and Deceit. Maybe she still has a game in there, but it was like she was like, okay. And then I guess we can just go through the B plot. She's like, hey, look, I want to defect. They run into the corridor. Then Cole catches him, and she's like, oh, fight. And then she just kills her. It's like she could have whispered, hey, pretend to be dead.
Well, she kills her, and then they go to the body room. I guess there's a body room. You go, I'll throw her out. Don't worry, guys. I got it. I'll get rid of the body.
Right.
And then she proceeds to go to the body room,
where
she sees all of her dead homies.
Right.
And then she gets upset about that.
It does make sense that there's a body room. This is the sarcophagus ship.
So they're just getting ready to... They don't have proper real estate on the outside of the sarcophagus ship yet. Well, and once they have a few new units put in, then they've got the body room.
There's a lot of red tape and how to get a spot on the outside.
No, that's not the thing to get upset. Like
I'm not upset at this point.
Right.
Calmer than you are, dude.
No, well, I'm just like let's not make the episode about the sarcophagus because Core doesn't give a shit about the sarcophagus room. That was a thing only Tecumva cared about, that he would do everybody personally. And then Core just apparently she finds all her dead homies and says all their names like we remember them, like.
Well, I think that was some clear. She can't just go into a room and look at all the bodies and say dead homies.
Right.
She has to telegraph to the audience that she knew them all personally.
Yeah, no, which is fine. But you know what? It would have also been fine and maybe kind of cool if we spent some time with them and learned who the fuck they were.
Sure,
but. Yeah.
No, we had to spend time with Georgia and Takuma and Vok, who's apparently, just gone from the show.
Right. Well, she says they took my friend away. My one friend had to leave. And then I thought when she's giving that spiel to Cornball, I was like, oh, yeah, she's definitely running a game because her friend just didn't get taken away. Her friend, that's part of her whole shtick. Her way of infiltrating the Discovery is part of this lie that she's feeding Admiral Cornball about her friend being betrayed by Core. I see what they're doing. And then they weren't. And it was disappointing.
This is clearly a two-parter.
Yeah.
So, and maybe it wasn't always going to be a two-parter. I don't know.
Remember, up until like 3 weeks ago, this was the season ender.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They added one more episode before the break.
So we would have had to go into 2 months if this is the last episode we saw.
Yeah. No, I thought episode 6 was going to be the season ender.
I don't know. Last I read.
And they extended
They added one more, is what I remember. I think it was probably 6 and then
I
8.
thought they added one more.
Because when they had only 12 or 13 episodes, they were going to do 6.
Yeah.
And then 6.
And then, as far as the A plot goes, they felt the need to sneak in right before the break. The tired and true away mission fucks up a crew member's mind. The planet fucks with the crew member.
Yeah,
sure.
Which I'm pretty sure every Trek has got at least one of those.
Yeah.
But it was like they were deathly afraid that they were going to get shit canned as a series before they got this in, so they had to get it, blow it right off the bat.
I mean, and it's fine that they had that because I remember this is the episode that I've been talking up this whole podcast that Kirsten Beyer wrote that everybody's so excited for. It's a big Saru episode where it's the most Star Trek feeling episode that they've had, and everyone's going to love this episode. And I started off liking this episode a lot, and then it just kind of left me disappointed because, well, we can get into the Saru story, I guess.
Well, I mean, I'm going to get off with the positive right off the bat. One of my things throughout the entire history of Star Trek, from the TOS, Next Gen, all of it, is that they go to an alien planet and it looks like the backlot of Southern California.
Right.
So the fact that they took the time to Photoshop every single one of those Southern California leaves blue
Right.
really means a lot to me.
They just did a find and replace color filter on, right?
Yes. Of course that's what they did. But the fact that they did that means a lot to me personally, that they actually took care to make the environment look alien. And I thought it actually did a fantastic job of looking alien.
Yeah. I agree. If we're just going to pass off a bunch of woods as alien, like we always do, which,
Yes.
like at least, hey, that's Star Trek, right? That's fine. I'm on board with that.
Okay, and then I'll in the spirit of this, I'll start off with a positive too. The app didn't fuck up. Like the app was fine. So.
Oh,
yeah.
Very nice.
All right, there we go.
Yeah.
I found one of the Centos commercials very entertaining.
Yeah. So
everybody wants to get a piece of Ready.
That's the only positive you have on this one? Like,
well, I'm just saying, like, I mean,
so yeah, okay.
The fact that the Centos commercial was a highlight for me.
Who me?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought this was the worst episode of the season.
Really?
Yeah.
Geez.
What? Wait a minute. No, that's not true. Episode 3 broke your mind.
Right.
So I don't believe that this one's the worst one.
From the beginning, you thought this was the worst one, or just by the end of it?
Well, I mean, by the end of it, but I mean, like,
I think it's a mishmash.
I mean,
right. Like, how did you feel like in the first half of this episode? Like, because I'm disappointed with this episode, but I was along with I was really digging a lot of it, and then I thought the third act was kind of just shanked.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't know. It wasn't. No. I mean, I'm just saying that. No, it's all Ash and Burnham. After the original, I guess I like the original star fighting sequence. I don't know. Like, I don't get where the story is, man.
Right. Well, I mean,
so I don't fundamentally get it. So it's hard for that. It never really hooks me. It never really puts me on the ride that it wants me to be on. So I'm always kind of like offset. I don't understand anything about the Klingons to begin with. I don't understand why Kor rebuilt the ship. I don't understand why. I mean, there's just
because he needed a cloak. Because the cloaking technology is what's winning the war for the Klingons.
And that's why he stole the cloak.
Right, but then that's like the flagship of it. So you're going to keep that one. And it's a big ship.
It makes sense to you. But you're right that the third one broke my brain. I think that I had to acclimate to the show. And it had to teach me how to, like...
This gets into, like, part of why we keep getting in the fights, I think. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to enjoy the show, and I could find things to like, but it feels like now, from what I'm getting from what you're saying, is like you're just going in, hating it, waiting for, all right, turn me around. Because I don't know, like you didn't find things to like at the beginning.
I'm open to it.
Yeah.
Like every episode, I'm trying to get into.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm open. I'm watching. I'm not like let me find ways to hate this show. Like I don't think, like I just don't like nothing that the Klingons. Okay, when I say that nothing makes sense, what I mean is that there's no intrigue. She wanted to defect. She goes to the person. Like, everybody is telling the truth all the time. Everybody is stating what they think all the time. And so, like,
I'm not talking about the Klingon. I agree that all the Klingon stuff in this was garbage, but I'm talking about the away mission setting and just the space fight.
I don't know what at this point they don't have me. So, like, I don't know what. I'm not interested in. I get Ash's Vok. I get that the intrigue between the sexual intrigue between her and him is moot.
You know what? There is an interesting development that I had not thought of, and it's that when the war's over, Burnham's ass goes back to jail.
Right.
And that is
she says life was a sentence that they gave.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying.
So there is some interesting stakes introduced.
We're having a podcast about the episode. I just want to get your impressions of like as we're going through it.
Well, I think
I'm here for impressions.
Okay.
I watched it.
I know. Okay.
I do like that is a stake that's been introduced.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean that
That she's gonna go away from prison. Like once this is over, like
she has motivation to keep the war going.
Right. And if you look at it as him as Ash and not Vok, his whole I want to fight for it. But then if you see him as Vok and you're like, oh, that's his Klingon kind of point of view of like, why don't we just...
He called the Klingons, right? They just assume it was the aliens at the end. But he called the homies himself. Right?
Oh, I didn't even...
That's what I'm assuming, but could have just this show doesn't... It seems to have one mystery, and nothing else is a mystery. Everybody's telling the truth all the time.
You think L'Rell was telling the truth? I think that she actually was.
What, you think she was Ramsay bolting her? No, I think she was telling the truth.
Oh,
I thought she was Ramsay bolting, and then when she wasn't, I was like, well, this... What? I thought she was supposed to be sly and cunning.
Why do you... Okay.
I don't know why she defect. I don't know why she would defect. She hates everybody. She hates the Federation. Because she was gonna do space jihad against them at the beginning of the series, so she obviously hates the Federation. She hates the Klingons because they killed her. They killed all of her homies.
That's why she wants.
So I don't care if she stays or goes. I can see her doing it either way. I guess.
Right. It makes sense. I mean, her reason. I can tell you the reasons why she's defecting because she gave them to us.
She was telling the truth.
Yeah. Because
I understand it, but like I said, she could go either way. Like the writers could do whatever they want, is what I'm saying, and justify it.
The reason that she is defecting is because she thought Tecumseh was all about uniting the Klingons, and she's like, but Kor, who's running the things right now, looks like isn't about uniting the Klingons. He's about ruling over the Klingons with an iron fist and just getting his way. And I don't want any of that. So let me defect to your Federation, which is a great line that's a great argument to Ramsay bolting her. And I was like, oh, that's smart. And she's doing the insidious play. Cool. Then she gets caught in the hallway and is like, oh shit. And then just decides to fight and kill her. And when she could have still played she could have still played it out defecting. You just whisper, look, pretend to be dead because they didn't check the body or anything. Or else, yeah, I don't know. It was just like, really, that's all you got? Like, and that's unless she really is playing possum. That's the most kind of.
And we still don't know. We don't.
They have a way of killing women in lame anticlimactic ways. That like they did with Landry. That was like just like a fart in the wind, and this was just the same thing. It was like, what? That's how you? Yeah, I was confused when Cole is like, oh well, let's show her what we do to Liar. Like I thought. When he said you let her get away, I thought that maybe I missed a scene where she was playing possum and got put in a pod and sent off, but nope, I guess not. So it was, I don't know. I found that B plot just kind of disappointing. But
well, the A plot wasn't exactly straight fire either. I mean, it was pretty this Saru stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the first part wasn't even that good. Like, I don't want to see the Burnham Ash Vok stuff. Isn't interesting to me at all.
Okay.
And it feels like it feels like a slog every time they're having a scene together, and it feels like a slog to me.
I agree. I'm not on board with it's not my favorite thing, but I thought, given that they are now an item or whatever, I thought it was fine. I thought it was written fine. We've already established for an episode by itself, this was not bad. I don't like that they've gotten to that. This is the relationship, but the way it was written in this episode and their dialogue was elucidating well enough their positions, their point of views, his thing about fighting, even if the war goes on,
he clearly doesn't know Federation protocol either.
Yeah. You know,
he was showing his ass. All he knows is that he outranks her and he can make her do whatever she wants.
Right, but it's playing well on two levels. If he is Ash, it plays on one level, like where he's willing to fight for love or whatever. If he's Vok, it plays on another level where it's good that he's actually got from a Klingon point of view about like just always fighting. So I thought that was well done. Okay. I don't like the whole Ash Burnham romance, but it's there, and I thought that it was executed well enough in an episode of Star Trek in this.
One of the things I was noticing with the Saru storyline is it doesn't have to be like it's an interesting sort of outline of a story, is that someone shows him he's essentially a he's full of fear, and that's one of the things that I don't think that they're not hitting correctly,
right?
In the way that we sort of see fear in society today. Specifically, I'm thinking about like all of the sort of stuff that I've been reading sort of around Black Lives Matter and stuff like that about what it's like to just live in constant fear in society that something's going to that you're going to be your situation is going to be misunderstood by cops or by any number of sort of that they're just constantly nervous and fearful,
right?
And that
like
and
you're being preyed upon,
and that ultimately, when you internalize that comes out as violence and sort of this extreme sort of like just acting out,
right?
And you don't really see a lot of that with him. And one of the things that I would have liked from the plot that you could have seen is that the storyline is actually, because what they don't do is they don't show it from his perspective. They do from that little clip, but they don't show, like, if the camera hugged Saru during that whole sort of story, maybe I would have been a little bit more drawn into the whole fear versus the balance of peace and all of that sort of, and having some sort of being above that. Like, it would have showed that, but it didn't show it. It showed it as, it did it by the typical beats of Saru's been taken over by the island. And so the Michael Burnham and Ash, the people that we've given a ridiculous amount of screen time to over the last 3 episodes, have to beat Saru at this gambit now. Instead of it should have been portrayed as Saru, and Saru has to beat his dumbass crew members who don't understand the peace of the island or of the planet.
Right. So,
and if it portrayed it through that, I would have found it, but it seemed to me that they took, at least to me, they took the avenue to telling the story that I was least interested in. And so that's where they went with that.
Right. So, yeah, the whole setup is they're on an away mission because of the Klingon ships. Mm-hmm. They have a technobabble solution to get past the invisibility shields, i.e. cloaks. And they're on this planet with no life forms except for all the trees. But... They say there's not any life forms here, and there's it's not reading as a life form except for everything else, because there's the things that look an awful lot like the spores, but they talk. So Saru has first contact he's a first contact kind of liaison. That's almost what his deal. That's what he's good at. So he talks to these spore things, and he's got to find a way to engage. And then overnight, they're doing he's. The conceit and the way the show is set up as a classic Star Trek, that he's been taken over by these aliens. And I did but then the reveal at the end is actually he hasn't been taken over at all. He's just had his fear wiped away. And so instead of being a powerful character that has any agency or anything, has his fear taken out. So it makes him act like a piece of shit, bad Starfleet officer, because his lack of fear overpowers any rationality that he has. And he's so scared of his lack of fear being taken away that he acts out of fear because he's not scared. What the fuck?
Yeah. I wasn't quite sure. Was he not taken over?
No, I mean, he has a whole scene when they finally get back to sickbay at the end where he's like, Burnham goes up to apologize to him, and he's like, no, I mean, and that's where you get the voiceover from the trailer from last week, where he gets the line about like, no, it wasn't that I was taken over. It was because my species live in fear all the time. And this is the first time ever that I didn't have fear. And I didn't want to give that up. Because he wasn't afraid, he wants to stay on this planet so bad that he's willing to just throw his entire mission away, throw away Burnham and Ash's mission away, and react fearfully and lash out to keep them there, which it didn't make that's why the third act fell apart for me, because I was like, that contradicts itself even.
And maybe it would have, but because they had to keep the mystery of was he overtaken by
right
or whatever, yeah. Because they had to keep the mystery up, they didn't allow you to go on the journey with someone who's experiencing the journey. So,
I laughed so hard at that CGI of him.
Oh God, that was like
so
Matrix
funny.
Reloaded level bad, body scene.
I thought it was fine, but I'm not watching on a 4K TV or anything. I don't
He
know.
looked rubbery as shit. He looked, but
Well,
yeah,
he can look rubbery. He's an alien, though. It doesn't bother me.
Well, no, it looked sped up.
It did look sped up.
They had him run it. And he over exaggerated his move your arms really up high, but walking, and then they sped up the film, and that's what I was like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's what they did.
That's some Charlie Chaplin type shit right there.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. If they had told it but they were so keen on telling it this classic Star Trek taken over by the planet story, which had me on board for the first 2 acts, because I was like, yeah, this is Star Trek, and I'm on board. Oh, great! It's an away mission. It's a classic an away mission kind of story. And then the third act kind of was kind of a disappointing resolve to it, because they didn't. Yeah. But yeah, if they did what you were just talking about, James, where you get to follow it through and kind of see his perspective on it, then that might have played better.
Yeah, I mean, you at least give you a character sort of story, which you don't really have a character story here. I mean, I guess that it's one big Michael Burnham character story, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, and I
think that's what they're telling themselves. So
yeah, I mean, she is the point of view character for the whole show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't like her that much either, but I'm willing to accept that the show's going to be mostly about her. So it's not going to upset me when they do the Ash stuff, other than I'm not.
You don't like Michael Burnham?
I think I like her. She's not what I wish was the driving character of the whole show, because she's not the most interesting to me. But
oh, yeah,
because they're trying to sell this whole romance with Ash.
The romance is just disastrous.
Yeah.
It's not fun to watch.
I mean, but a lot of people disagree with us on that, but they don't have a podcast.
Well, okay, so it does seem to be that from all of this stuff, not our fans. Our fans are great, but the other fans, the fans that aren't our fans. The little bit that I read this week on it seems to be a lot of people are really, really invested in Ash Tyler not being Vok.
Yes.
Which is a very strange attachment to the show, because it's a negative attachment. It's that I'm certain that they're not going to do this.
Right, because the relationship between him and Michael is so, I buy it so bad. So he can't be Vok, because this romance is so good to me.
There is some of that, but I think it's more just that there's 2 schools. No, I don't think so, because he's too human acting and yada yada.
Yeah.
And the sort of second school is they're not going to do it because it's really, really obvious. And I'm going to just, I mean,
you know what? I could see them. I could see if people were catching on and they were still filming, they could pull Michael Eddington. And change the nature.
That's
of
what I hope.
But they're not,
you almost hope that they do that.
But they're not. They're done filming. So sorry.
If you hear that Tony Gilroy is coming in to film some reshoots, Ron Howard's coming in to film reshoots for the first season,
right.
On the back half.
Yeah, hey man, I'll cross my fingers. I mean, I've said over and over again, my hope is that for season 2 they just don't have the same.
I could have went with Joss Whedon too. There's 3 different directors of note who are taking over other people's movies to fix them. But okay, I think that I mean, to me, every episode makes it clearer and clearer. This episode is clearly clear.
I thought so.
We spent an enormous amount of time on Vok, and they don't show him for 4 episodes, and then they mention him in a line in this episode as they took him away from me, that line,
right? And that's why I was like, surely she's lying and she's running a grift here, because she sent him away. So she's gonna get on Discovery, and her and Ash are gonna have some shenanigans that they do, and that sounds pretty cool. I'm on board with that. And then nope, that's not what they're doing. It's
I thought the whole time the whole point was to get Core's. It's not Core. He works for Core.
He's the House of Core. He's Cole.
And by the way, and Core, who's bronze and with a Fu Manchu mustache, but
yes,
he works for he works for Core, or he's the
he's
the head of the house. Core
he's the head of.
But Core exists at this time period.
Right.
10 years later.
Yeah,
that
so
could be
he's-
Kor's older brother, and once that motherfucker gets smoked, Kor's in charge of his house.
Yeah, right. I mean, nobody understands how Klingon houses are named because they're
well, they talked about that on our Discord server a lot.
yeah. I mean, I just always assumed we name them after the characters that people know, and it's just haphazard. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have. Okay, so it seemed to me that she was trying to get in good with Kor and get his stealth technology to do whatever, and so she was going to Ramsay Bolton Admiral Cornball,
Right.
and then it seems to me so if they and I guess there's an argument to be made that she was still doing that was what she was doing.
Right.
The argument seems to be that if you're going to do that, you either have to succeed with the subterfuge.
Right.
She has to get she has to enact the full plan within this episode that she was trying to.
Yeah.
With Cornball, not the whole plan with the ash and everything.
Right.
But that would seem right. Or it fizzles like Cornball turns the tables on her at the end, because Cornball is not is not a character to be fridged, but it turns out that Cornball is a character to be fridged, and that
it's a good thing that we set for this character. It's like she's like what's his name in The Shining? We followed her through. She's coming through. Scatman Crothers in The Shining. She's been like, all right, I'm going to come save it. She shows up and she finally gets there, and she's in her screen time. She makes it to the she makes it to the hotel. She's on the Klingon ship, about to get her mind ripped and maybe become Leth later. Sorry, that's my but nope. She just died.
I'm still not on board with the Leth nonsense.
Well, I think that lower the banners on the Leth theory. But okay, so that's the two ways that storyline went out. What you don't do is just have it fizzle.
Yeah.
Which is. And then she looks and says something to Cornball, and I don't understand what that was, and then I don't understand what Cornball said back.
When?
And then I thought they were doing a thing where I have to beat you up, make it look good.
Yeah.
And let's sell it, and let me beat you up, and it'll be good for both of us. And then and then she just killed her.
Yeah. And it's like, what?
And then it was
so here's the thing. This is all a larger issue. Is this poor storytelling because they are bad storytellers, or are they have stuff to reveal later on, so this is unclear by design?
They're spinning,
because this was a Westworld thing.
They're spinning wheels because they can't tell you what's going on.
Well, I don't know because we haven't finished the story yet.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, here's an example of what happened further on in the season, earlier in the season rather. Where everybody assumed that we were going to enter some mirror universe shit because of the final mirror scene with Stamets in that one episode a million years ago. And guess what? He's back to his grumpy ass old self this week.
Yeah, we had Return of the Squints.
I have a theory about that fits into the mirror universe.
Well, I'm sure you could shoehorn a theory. Anybody could shoehorn a theory, and I'm sure your theory is fine and it's plausible. But it's my point is that
it's not shoehorning. I think it's a pretty good theory.
But you need some deep theory to come up with what's going on in front of your face,
right? Because that's my problem. That is my problem. Is that we're not watching clear storytelling. We're watching some opaque stuff that everybody has to infer and make up just to connect the dots.
Yeah, and
I think a lot of people enjoy that.
I enjoy that. I'll be a person if they and the test is whether those dots connect at the end of the series.
But they don't from week to week.
I'm saying they the Stamets thing I can make a case for, and my case. Hey, it's a case, and if it gets proven right, then I'm right, and if not, the show sucks. I don't know.
Okay, so I think maybe we're watching two different types of things here. That's new to Star Trek. Let's say it that way. This idea of making it this Lynchian puzzle that needs to sort of be understood.
I wouldn't call it. I would say it more of a Abramsian puzzle because Lynch is not really concerned with you figuring out his puzzle.
But also, I mean, okay, then let's use the Abrams. Then Abrams is clearly giving you mysteries. I still don't know. It's possible that the story is just telling you that Stamets is grumpy. And that it's testing him or it's wearing on him.
I mean, maybe, sure, but I think, to me, it's pretty clear there's a mystery with Stamets. I don't think there's much. I don't think it's a mystery that there's a mystery going on with him.
I don't know what the parameters of it are.
He's either a grumpy asshole or sometimes he flips and he's a nice guy. And then in this episode, I'll go ahead and detail, like, this episode is where we get to see that he's two different people. Like, he comes out and it's something to do with the spore drive. So sometimes he thinks he knows one thing and he calls her Tilly Captain. And then sometimes he feels like he knows something else. Like, his whole world is different. Like, maybe sometimes he's remembering the mirror universe and sometimes he's remembering this one. So we'll know if, like, when we get, because there is a mirror universe episode coming up sometime. That is
where Tilly's the
that's
captain.
what if it turns out, that's what I'm saying. If it's possible, and they laid breadcrumbs by saying I'm going to be captain one day or whatever, or maybe he's jumping to the future. Maybe it's a time travel thing.
That's what I thought, that because with the temporal stuff, last week, that there's a future where Tilly gets what she wants. So because this thing can't be so fucking dark that at least the one person who's supposed to be a ray of sunshine in this show gets what she wants.
Right.
Hopefully.
So there's a lot of mysterious stuff going on with Stamets. Like, one theory that I have is that I think it's nice that I can't say if I'm right or not yet because, well, they haven't laid it out yet. Right.
And I think that the mirror shit, if you're going to have it all mapped out, if you have all the stuff mapped, the mirror shit it feels like it's been dropped because it's switched.
I feel
back.
That's why I felt like this brought it back because
I don't know.
He's traveling between two different.
You know what's more interesting than all this mirror shit or the behavior shit is, or his confusion is the actual relationship strain it puts on him and the Doctor. Yeah. That's far more interesting than all the theories about what's going on with him. Is the character stuff that's causing between the two characters,
and I like that.
That's good. That's barely, and it was literally like 3 lines in this episode. And it was the most interesting thing about the episode.
I mean, I did really like that kind of like where he's an explanation of why he can't, fuck over his boyfriend or not.
I just found myself wishing that was what I was watching. That episode,
fair enough. Yeah, I mean, because that is engaging and that's interesting to me too. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that's wrong. But.
Are they also, like, by them saying that they're going to make it serialized as opposed to episodic?
Yeah.
Are they taking storylines that we've probably seen before in Star Trek, told in episodic format, but just stretching them out over episodes, and then what it happens is that it stretches our patience with the story?
I'm saying, like, yes, the Stamets could have become oh my god, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If Stamets were in the Next Generation and they discovered a spore drive, at the beginning he would have replaced himself with a tardigrade because it's hurting the tardigrade within the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And by the middle of it, something's very wrong with Stamets.
Yeah.
And then by the third act, they have it all resolved.
Yeah.
You're like, by the middle of it, his relationship is strained or whatever. And by the third act, it would be resolved. But what we're seeing is that we're seeing 2-minute slivers over the span of 9 episodes.
Yeah, and it's just
stuff.
wearing us.
Yeah.
Down. Like,
I think Brian Fuller had a pretty serialized vision for the season. They fired Brian Fuller. Alex Kurtzman is not used to doing these serialized shows. He's an executive producer on Scorpion, which is not a serialized. It's an episode. It's a fine procedural. It's not the height of television.
But it's treated every episode like it's its own mini movie, which is Kurtzman's wheelhouse.
Exactly. Yeah.
And and he did a very good, I think the Sam Witwicky saga over the first 3 Transformer stories were pretty
is that right? No. I mean, Fringe is good, but Fringe is also that it's X-Files serialization where they have some episodes, but every episode is still episodic where they have a ongoing mystery that they're solving over the season. But then also every episode is an episode, But that's not what
I mean. So
that's.
I assume that whatever's going to happen with Paul Stamets is ultimately going to be told over an episode.
Probably, yeah. The mirror.
Yeah.
Well,
so
who knows?
Yeah. Well, is he mirroring or is he time jumping?
Well, yeah. I don't know.
Is he mirror time jumping?
Right.
I think maybe we're getting to like a little bit of the difference of what we want and what we. I think me and Hugh, and I think it's safe to say me and Hugh, I'm not trying to phrase it as a gang up, but like what me and Hugh sort of like in a show versus like, I think you like these spaces to where your creativity can kind of go in.
Yeah.
And I don't really know, like, I don't like the spaces. Like, I like to know that they know what the story is.
Well, I mean,
and so
ideally, I like a show where those spaces get filled in satisfactorily, which I'm not. I mean, which I'm holding out hope for, and maybe they could do that. But yeah, it's who knows.
So I go back to like because I had to clean the house this week. One of the days I was cleaning the house, and I put on our Lost podcast to listen to. And I don't think I'd listened to it since it aired, and so I was listening to it again, and it seemed like that. Like the thing that was sort of the differences of opinion that we had in that show is that by the fourth, when I liked it, the fifth season, the show was moving so fast, I didn't stop and give a shit about the numbers or the whatever or the island. Like I sort of stopped theorizing.
Yeah.
And I just sort of let it go. And being on the ride itself was fun.
I never stopped theorizing.
And then so it got to a point and then they fucked it up. And so like, yeah. But I think that you liked it in a different way.
Yeah. No, I think,
and it was like a story Sudoku puzzle for you.
Totally.
And that might be what they're doing here. I mean, but like I think you see the gaps, and it's possible that you're right. But all I see is just the shit they didn't do.
Yeah, I mean,
like the directions that they don't.
I'll even say that Lost, even when it wasn't great, was doing a better job of doing that kind of show than this is. Mm-hmm. Like I'm a guy that didn't come out hating the end of Lost, but we did a whole podcast about it.
Yeah,
yeah, we did.
We did 2 of them actually.
Yeah, people should look that up.
And so I can just kind of see. I can kind of just see where this is a lot of like not doing a good job of setting up.
I agree.
I want a stream of numbers, and you want a Sudoku puzzle. And maybe they're giving you the Sudoku puzzle, and maybe I'm supposed to spend maybe it's in me. Maybe I'm supposed to be more attached to filling in these squares.
Well, yeah. If they're giving me,
I just want a good story,
and they're trying. If they give me a good puzzle, I can enjoy. I try to enjoy the show on the merits of what it's trying to give me. Like, and this one, okay, they're trying to do the episodic thing, and all right, I don't like the romance, but yeah, let's see how they executed what this episode was supposed to be. And I thought like 2/3 of it were just getting there, and then like at last episode, it kind of screwed the pooch at the end. But
we'll see where it's going. We'll see how it ends up.
Right. Well, I mean, next episode is just going to be a big space fight, or like, and then another cliffhanger.
And then you have the Shaolin master fight between Not Core and Michael. So,
right.
And I assume that Ash and
I mean,
they need to get back to give me some Jason Isaacs. Like what? Like
all he did was just bark orders at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah. He's trying to win a war.
Yeah. Well, I know. Like
there's a certain abrasiveness.
Yeah.
That he's adding to it that really makes my skin crawl. And I don't know, that's a personality thing in me that like I don't respond very well to that sort of abrasiveness. Mm-hmm. And I probably really do very well in the military as a result.
Yeah.
But I'm not used to seeing my Star Trek captains like that. Like everybody seems so even keeled with their authority on a starship bridge. I'm not used to seeing somebody. So it's a departure.
Yeah.
And even though it makes me uncomfortable, I still find it interesting, I guess.
He's Captain Jellicoing it a little bit.
He's trying to win a war.
I mean, I feel like that we've even dropped the sort of thread of is what he's doing moral or justified. It seems like the plot has solved that problem.
Well,
he's justified,
right? In this episode, he was justified because he was trying to do a rescue mission, and he wasn't.
Well, I don't even know. I don't think he did. I don't think he did anything. I don't think he did anything morally ambivalent or morally
because he
broken in this episode.
None of this episode was about his plot line. Really, it was. Just,
I guess that's my point. Is it seems like that it's put that in the cabinet, and like the last time we put it in the cabinet, it looks like that we're getting into a groove where Lorca's just the good captain, right?
I mean, I think you can't.
They might bring it up again later, but it's
right. Well, in a serialized,
they're not dealing with the morality of. They're not dealing with. They're giving us pretty consistent statements as fucked up in this every episode. They're not giving us serialized Lorca's fucked up.
Right.
In this.
Well, because this show is about Burnham, and they don't have to deal with him every episode.
But they're dealing with statements every episode.
But not like the whole episode. I mean, yeah,
that's my point. They're putting little things in every episode about statements.
Right.
They're not putting every episode in about Lorca being like,
yeah,
like crazy.
Right. So I think, that's the show's lacking a coherent vision driving it. I don't know.
Agree.
In an episodic show, you don't have to deal with his story arc every time. So, but in a serialized show, we have to deal with this long serialized story about Stamets and the spore drive, because that's another important thing. And the show is getting confused about what kind of show it wants to be. It's where the series is for me right now.
I agree. I mean, I think it wants to be a revved up action adventure show.
Yeah,
really fast paced, revved up action adventure show where like life and death decisions are being made all the time. And I think that's what they're doing.
It wants to be everything. That's the problem.
Yeah,
because it wants to be an episode. It wants to be Star Trek, which people think is more episodic. So we lean that way. But then no, we're serialized, and then they lean out, and so everything gets kind of like you're not getting what, and so everything gets kind of obfuscated to where we're not even sure what the hell's going on.
Yeah,
like did Cornball leave? He said you shouldn't have let her escape. Oh, she did escape, and then she killed her. I don't know. It was.
Mm-hmm. But then we caught you lying, but it's not clear what you were lying about.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
It's just like
that's my thing. I'm worried that they're being like this is a design.
Yeah,
like when they have here's what they're hamstrung by. Like if they have their plot twists all mapped out and they're writing the scenes, and they're like, we can't word it like that because this happens later on. And so what they end up with is just some obtuse shit. And the audience is like, what did we just watch? And I think that's what is a bad thing for any story to be hemmed in by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shit, I don't know. Did Agatha Christie have these problems where every scene, is that what Murder on the Orient Express is going to be like? Where scene to scene, I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? Oh. I think there's a way to do mystery and still tell an interesting story with characters.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, and mysteries like I think that's maybe one of the things that we're arguing about is that mysteries telegraph the mystery. Like they highlight what you don't know. And when you're finding out stuff, they do a good job of highlighting that to go back to the Sudoku analogy, that you've found all the fours. Like, they let you know that. It's not a mystery of, did I find all the fours? I don't fucking know. And so I wonder, because it was a fucking mess behind the scenes. We all know that. It was delayed a bunch. It was fucked up a bunch. They kept firing everybody a bunch. We know it was a mess. So I'm wondering, does it have a snowman problem? Did they just not, when they have the scripts, but like they didn't get it shot.
Yeah.
And so they're having to edit what they got. And then that's making all of these.
Maybe.
Like they would have loved a more definitive.
Your scenario is a lot more is a grimmer scenario than mine, where like the writer's room just can't word things a certain way because of we're worried about revealing too much later on.
Yeah, I'm thinking that. I think they got to know, because like wording, not wanting to reveal something. If you killed Cornball, which we all agree they did.
I mean,
no,
I
don't think she's dead.
I think they did. I would love for them to like reveal that she's not actually dead next episode.
I don't think she's dead.
But I hope you're right. We can't know yet, which actually kind of brings to a new kind of segment that I'd like to introduce at the end of this. I mean, are we starting to wrap up? Or
yeah, we probably should steer it that way. I think we've wrung this rag dry. I think
right.
We need
so a question I would like to pose to all of y'all is, so it sounds like we're pretty down on this episode. I actually liked this episode a lot up until the third act. But what do you think the fans or everybody else thinks about this episode?
I'm seeing a little bit more negativity about it on Reddit.
Negativity on Reddit.
that just hasn't been the case for the show.
Yeah. Okay.
Like there's a lot of dick sucking on the show on the Reddit forums. And there wasn't in the early days, but I think that everybody's went to their corners. Like they're on the Orville subreddit.
Right.
So I think that on I'm seeing a little bit more negativity.
Okay.
There's a lot of things. Maybe
to this
maybe
episode
this is
specifically, or just the series in general.
To this episode, it's on the post-episode recap that I'm looking at. One of the things that several people have brought up, and even Willow brought it up on the Discord, and I thought about it briefly, and I know that you haven't seen Enterprise, but this also goes back to we talked about Core earlier, the Core episode for the original series.
Mm-hmm.
They were on the island of the Organians,
right?
Who were the pacifist, balanced people.
Oh, yeah.
Who didn't want to take a spot in the Klingon Federation issues. And then I believe that they showed that some Organians were spirits in the Am I remembering this correctly?
Oh, maybe. My whole thing in this episode, I thought they were setting up the crystalline entity from TNG.
Oh my god, I thought that too.
Oh, did you?
And then I thought, I'm following. I most definitely did. I thought, oh my god, is this the origin story of the crystalline entity? Because
right, it used to be all nice, and then the Klingons came and fucked it up, and now it does everything.
I would like that story more.
You know what? And that was me doing the classic thing of all the fans, Star Trek fans right now, is reading something into something because it's going to give me more of what I miss, and that's not what the show's doing. The show's not like connecting dots. To shit you like.
Yeah, it's connecting dots to say, no, actually it is canon because of this. It's like, all right, Dick, fine.
I firmly believe that what that Dick Nose said before, that we are in a third timeline. I feel like that's how I'm viewing this.
Yeah, but yeah, okay.
And even though they've backpedaled on that, they treat the show like a third timeline.
Oh, yeah.
Like what they say officially and how they treat the show are two different things. They're treating it like it's just one big retcon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, they might say that they're respectful of the history, but they're clearly not.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
This shit doesn't fit in.
They always throw in a little thing to say, but it does fit. But it's like, it doesn't. You're nitpicking. And because I expected that people actually would like a lot of this episode. I
think that the Klingon stuff is a mess to everyone.
Yeah.
No one anywhere, even the really up for people, no one that's not getting paid by Paramount likes the Klingon stuff at all. Because it's a total fucking nightmare mess. They're more simplified. My fear early on was that they were going to overcomplicate the beautifully simplistic Klingon race.
Right.
They have undersimplified the appropriately complex Klingon race. They're just nothing. They're a bunch. They're the most boring, nothing villains ever. There's no complication, or the only complication that we have is that possibly the Gary Sue is a secret Klingon. That's the only way it can add any sort of complexity to it at all.
I think the production designers got really excited and developed 24 Houses and really developed the Klingons, but the writers were just like, they're Klingons, whatever, and just fucked it up. Because because I believe when people were really excited about all the work they put in the Klingons, I bet there's notebooks and just there's tomes of stuff they've written in the Bible about Klingon society that just like the writers are just like, oh, whatever.
Where are we on the Galaxy Fight TV show question?
I mean, I feel like that this is a cards on the table episode. Like, I felt like this was like, this is all you needed to know. That's what I felt like. But I could be wrong. I mean, they could pull it out in the finale, but
yeah, I'm still on board.
The kind of finale.
Yeah,
the kind of finale.
The fall finale, I think is what it called it on my I'm on board because I want to see the resolution of the Stamets mystery, because that is a pretty clearly telegraphed mystery to me that is going to be resolved. No, maybe not next week. And I want to see Ash revealed as Vok, and so I can rub it in the face of everybody that says no, they're definitely not doing that.
Is there any way that he's not? Are we like? Give me the case that he's not.
It's just it's that badly written. I don't know that they just they didn't want to do Vok anymore, so they just didn't.
Yeah, So I mean, we all three agree on that. That's got to be worth something, right?
Yeah, there's every episode that goes by, and when he jumped in and said, when Lorca's like, you guys, you called our enemies.
Yes.
And he jumped into her defense. It was like, ooh,
I didn't.
Ooh.
You said before, like, that wasn't.
I'm like, oh, God.
It was painfully obvious to you that he's the one that called the Klingons and not the.
Oh, I thought that too.
People.
Wait, I thought that too.
Oh, because I was just taking. I learned after this L'Rell not Ramsay bolting cornball.
Everybody's telling the
I
truth.
was like, I'm taking the show at its word when it tells me that, and the way that they set up the aliens on Pavo was that they don't want fight and they just want to have unity and everybody to get along. So they reached out. They had such, because they built this crystal spire just to talk to the universe, and then they learned from Saru about all this strife when they read his mind or whatever. So they're going to call everybody together to resolve it. And I just took for the word that that's what was going on. But
you've convinced me. You're right. We talked about it earlier. What they're saying is what's going on there,
right?
For the most part,
yeah. It makes sense that if he is Vok, it does make sense that he would have done it, but he didn't have a chance to fuck with the thing to send another that we saw. But
right, so that's exactly it. We don't know.
Right.
Man.
So
we don't know shit.
I think if they do pull a thing where he did, because if he is Vok, the question is, when's he going to make his play to win shit? Because if he's Vok, he's definitely wants to win the war for.
Yeah, I guess if he is Vok, he's taking it easy.
Yeah.
Like Discovery hasn't run into any Klingon misfortune because of it or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Maybe he's biding his time. I don't know.
Or he's a Manchurian candidate where they haven't hit the right tone yet to trigger him.
Oh, if he's Vok and not aware that he's Vok.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You don't think that's a strong positive? That's how.
Oh my God, the heartbreak that will come from Vok himself when he finds out that he's not. That he is.
I think
Vok.
it's very possible that he might not even know that he's Vok. It could go either way.
So then it's not even. Then there's zero intrigue in this show.
No.
Other than why does Stamets quit squinting sometimes?
What if he doesn't know he's Vok?
There's no intrigue.
What I mean, no. It's just another way to do it because it explains why he can impersonate a human so well. All the little details that they say about his backstory that don't make sense is just the Klingon and him kind of peeking through, and then he gets triggered, and then whatever, and the thing collapses. I think probably if he is Vok, he probably knows to an extent, but who knows? But I mean, I'm just saying they could go either way.
But intrigue generally, as people are trying to get where interpersonal relationships are not always on the level, that there's multiple things going on with each interpersonal, that people are trying to manipulate other people are trying to ingratiate or manipulate or to push them into doing some sort of action. Like, all of that's gone. Or that was all we had of this.
Well, I mean, it would be that his handler, I think it's likely that he's been trying to get close to Burnham as Vok for whatever reasons. But I mean, it's possible that they could go that he doesn't know, but he's being controlled to fall in love with Burnham or something too.
Didn't he also sort of dangle out the possibility that at the end of the war he could they could run off?
Yeah.
Another planet together.
Something like yeah.
Or they could, die in the war or something. So I mean, I think that even that he's trying to that's not what a guy you're basically, you're not even sure if you're going steady or not.
Right.
I don't know if did their Facebook pages even say they're in a relationship yet?
Right. I don't know.
So he's already promising to stash her away. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's not a good
I think
move.
Burnham is like, I don't have a Facebook.
I don't. Okay, so want the Orville question, because I have to say Orville this week had a dynamite episode.
Oh, I will agree. I didn't watch the one from 2 weeks ago, but I watched this Penny Johnson Gerald episode with her kids. Yeah, I can't say anything real bad about it, except I can't.
I've said a lot of things. Like if this week was to prove to me one thing, I've said a lot of shitty things about what Brandon Braga did to Star Trek.
Yeah. He
proved me. He taught me a lesson this week. He schooled me in my criticisms this week.
I can say it's the same thing. Like it's like what I say about Stephen Moffat on Doctor Who. Even like Brandon Braga could write good episodes. He can write bad ones too. And when he's steering the ship as a showrunner, I think.
Yeah, that's just it. Is that like this is not his show? He directed that last episode, right? He didn't. He
wrote it too.
He wrote it
I
too.
think so.
Yeah, I mean, he can do good shit. He just doesn't always do good shit.
I mean, he wrote Best of Both Worlds and your favorite Star Trek movie, First Contact.
All right,
with Ronald D. Moore.
Yeah.
Let's get into. I think at this point, the Orville is clearly winning as far as just cohesive storytelling and watchability. Okay, there's nothing more. I mean, it's completely watchable, and it's fun.
Yeah,
like I have a good time when I'm watching it. I don't have a good time. Discovery feels like a slog to me. Part of it is like the parts that I understand are boring, and the other parts are obtuse.
So we all agree that Orville won the week.
I think so.
Yeah, it's hard to win. If it's a contest, Orville was going to win. That was a pretty good episode, so it was going to win this week.
Yeah.
If this were a good episode, Orville would have still won. Other than the aliens, the aliens in the Orville were just forehead aliens, but who cares? It's fine.
There were Brad Thompson as forehead aliens.
Yeah, exactly.
So a little bit better.
It's fair enough.
Are we ready to wrap this up?
I think so.
Let's wrap it up.
Well, I guess next week we just basically, like we said earlier, it's just they fight the Klingons.
It's galaxy fight, right?
It's galaxy fight, but it looks like they showed a shot of like the sarcophagus ship clearly about to explode.
Oh yeah.
But a lot of them was fighting like I said, the Shaolin face off between Kor and Michael Burnham. It ends with like there's a trippy time thing, and then there's a portal, or there's a transporter accident, and out comes Tilly in old age makeup and an eye patch and gray hair. And she's like, I've got to fix the patch.
Right, she's Michael, you've got to go back.
Come with me if you want to live.
But she's got an eye patch. She's most definitely got an eye patch.
Oh shit! Yeah, like
we gotta give out our info to wrap this up and tell people to go where to find us on the internet.
Yeah, so check out. Give us a call to revisit this episode maybe later in the week. Tell us what you think at 917-408-3898. We'll try to get some responses in before the next episode airs. Get that idea for you. And also check us out on our Patreon at patreon.com/kickersofElves, where we got a lot of other materials up for your perusal, audio and text and otherwise.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us on a Discovery Home Companion. We hope you join us next week as we discover the last episode before the break. For Wade, James, and myself, Hugh, 3 to beam out.
Subscribe to us on iTunes or Stitcher or Caster or Fuckcast or Podsucker. Review us on iTunes. Also grab a bit of fame for yourself by calling us at 917-408-3898 and leaving us a message. We play that shit on air. Or email us at rulesofacquisitionpodcast@gmail.com. Also, listen to our Deep Space Nine podcast, Rules of Acquisition. It is pretty amazing, but you may not yet be ready for its awesome amazingness. Assess your personal awesomeness appropriately.